Regina Karp, Kevin Dwayne, David Dartley, and then Hal Dorfman. Ms. Karp?
Regina Karp. I'm a widowed, retired...
Ma'am, can you speak into the microphone to make sure everyone can hear you?
I'm sorry. I'm a widowed, retired school teacher of 25 years in New York City. I live in a city with the richest people in the world, millionaires, billionaires. I've been in my rent-controlled apartment for 46 years. Now I lose sleep each night wondering if I'll be able to afford my rent. If I received 7.5% interest in the bank, which my landlords were getting, I might be able to live on my modest savings. But with interest rates near zero, I now have a boarder to help with my rent, as do all of my friends in the building and all the older rent-controlled tenants. Nobody's got country homes. Nobody's living outside. They live here. They can't even afford to go away on a vacation. Anyway, so I brought today a flyer I'd like to share with you. My building is now half condo and half renters, rent-controlled, rent-stabilized. In this flyer, it shows that an equivalent apartment to mine, which just sold for $2,400,000, the tax abatement provides these millionaires with incredible tax abatement. So on a $2.5 million apartment, the monthly tax is $353. My daughter, who is also now a school teacher in New York City, can't afford to live even close by to the city, in the city by. She has a $200,000 house in New Jersey, and she pays more in real estate tax than the millionaires in my building. It's just incredible. And she, as I said, and is traveling 4 hours a day to her job here in the city. It's just, to me, mind-boggling. I do have a sense of humor, so every day I ask my friends, can you find me a down and falling city that I might live to, might move to? Because I can barely afford to live in my apartment now.
Thank you, Ms. Karp.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. So Kevin Dwayne, David Dartley, Hal Dorfman, Jill Rappaport.
What I'll be handing in is one of the many unexpected expenses that come to buildings when it's due to age. It's also an example of the support to local business which large developers don't use. Skansky Construction does not use Home Depot or the local hardware store for drywall, faucets, or hundreds of other items like we do, or the contractors, plumbers, electricians, roofers, waterproofers, etc., who we hire and are not regulated by price index. My building is over 70 years old, some are older. The building is more like a human body, which breaks down and has unforeseen ailments, not like a bottle of wine. I take offense to the paintbrush image of landlords as negligent and irresponsible. Anyone who is should be punished to the full extent of the law and have their buildings taken away. What I also resent is these politicians rolling in here and talking about the rent, but I've heard people here complain about their landlords and the problems, but I don't hear them talking anything about enforcing the corrections of these problems to these people who are taking abuse of the tenants. Where are they now? But it's much easier to curry favor for a larger number of votes than to actually do something. We are business people. Our buildings are investments, plain and simple. If I'm going to work for the city and make up for decades of neglect in not providing affordable housing for a growing populace, then we should be receiving some form of compensation or tax abatement for doing their job for them. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Question. No.
Okay. So you just said taxes. Do you pay real estate taxes on your building?
Yes.
And what have your experiences been in terms of growth in real estate taxes?
Well, they've definitely gone up. I mean, accordingly. I mean, nobody mentions that the water taxes just went up this year to 3.25% from the mayor, and that kind of that slips under the wire. So they continue, and I have tenants in my building. They've been there 15, 20 years. They're great people. I'm not looking to get rid of them. They're very kind. I actually do have a millionaire, but I know that's an exception. And, my point being is that we're just looking to sustain what we have. Nobody's here is saying, hey, raise it 20%, we want more money. I mean, I have another job that I work just to keep things going. And what's going to happen here eventually is you're going to remove away all the profit for the small owners like we are. And who's going to buy the buildings if we decide to sell them later? The big developers, the people who are now getting the tax abatement. I mean, it's a great shell game. You see, they have us fighting each other, and we're all kind of in the middle class here. But we're not watching these big I mean, I live in Astoria, and every day I see these luxury high-rises going up, and I'm like, who's doing this? Why is this happening? Why aren't they building affordable housing for people? So it's a nice shell game. It has us arguing with each other, while the big developers who can afford to support politicians with donations to their re-elections and so on, well, they continue to buy these things. I mean, it's disgusting to look around for these things.
Mr. Dwayne, again, I very much appreciate your testimony. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
David Dartley, Hal Dorfman, Jill Rappaport, and Daniel, not sure how to pronounce your last name, you're going to have to correct me.
Good afternoon. My name is Hal Dorfman, and I am a landlord. It seems.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. David Dartley was actually next.
I don't see
Is Mr. Dartley? Okay, so just hold on one sec. We usually then go to the next tenant. Jill Rappaport, just hold on one sec. Jill Rappaport, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I live in Chelsea, and I've lived there for many years, and before that I lived in Brooklyn under rent stabilization. And what I can tell you about Chelsea is that in this relatively affluent neighborhood, all over the neighborhood, people are being evicted from their buildings illegally. Their landlords are not giving them the offer of lease renewals. They're doing illegal demolition inside the buildings on false permits. In my building, some tenants have not had gas for 16 months or more, in my former building, and my understanding is that Con Ed says it's not them. This is happening all over town. It's appalling to think what's also happening in outer boroughs where there may be people who are less aware of their rights and privileges than Chelsea tenants tend to be. I think that I've heard some of the small landlords speak, and I understand that there are problems with small landlords. What I think maybe, and I also appreciated the building owner who mentioned that the big development is really a huge part of the problem, and that is a scandal that should be stopped. The fact is that New York's character is changing really rapidly into something that is going to be Dubai if people don't take care of the problems. And in spite of the fact that small landlords do need to keep up with their bills, tenants are squeezed more. And tenants are in deep trouble and need help, and the city should, if this were a democratically appointed board, it would be far more tenant heavy than landlord heavy, because there are more tenants than landlords.
Mr. Dorfman, then Ms. Jiang, and then Daniel.
My name is Hal Dorfman, and I own an 8-family building in the Bronx. I'm also an architect by profession. I bought the building 15 months ago, and I was at one of the hearings that was held at the Landmarks Preservation Commission some weeks ago. I'm a landlord. I'm not a charity. I believe in the rule of law, and I believe in private property. I grew up in East New York, and I believe the Magna Carta on June 15th meets its 800th birthday. And in there, it was the protection of private property. I believe that it's the government's duty to provide housing, and that's what all our elected officials. I'm not an elected official. I don't come here to get re-elected. I come here to present that I purchased with my own money that I saved for decades to buy a building I get along very well with my tenants. I take my jacket off, I change my own faucets. I wait in the middle of the night when my boiler breaks. I don't expect my tenants to wait for the repairman. My taxes have gone up 10% this year. I try to save a few dollars by getting a new water meter with DEP. My old water meter was analog. Now my new water meter works on friction. So anytime it goes above 100 cubic feet a day, I pay another $10 per day. And that 30 days a month, that's another $300. Times that by 12 months. My insurance went up this year 50%. Okay? I had a break-in in my building. One of my tenants, an older woman, she pays a good rent. I give her excellent service. I give all my tenants excellent service. I can't afford to put, because there's a danger I'm going to lose my major capital improvement increase of $5,000 video intercom. I'm not going to put it in. I have a perfectly legal intercom. It will stay, it works, it's beautiful. If I can't maintain my building to the standard that I think, and I'm not, as an architect, a developer's standards are the minimum to the code. My standards are higher because I respect my tenants. I expect them to pay the rent in the first 7 days of the month. I don't ask for a handout. I don't expect them to ask for a handout.
Thank you for your testimony.
I have another second. I don't believe profit is a dirty word. This is still New York State, and it was made an empire by people who invested their time and money and energy.
No one is disputing that. Thank you for your testimony. Ramila Jodan? Ramila Jodan? Ramilla, and if I'm mispronouncing it, I apologize. Ramila?
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, board members, and staff of the Rent Guidelines Board, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Camilla Shadeen, Associate Director at the New York Legal Assistance Group, and I run our housing project. So we are testifying today to urge the board to roll back rent increases. We believe you should have a copy of my testimony at some point. Sorry, is that better? Thank you. Okay. So I'm from the New York Legal Assistance Group, and I'm testifying to urge the board to roll back rent increases. Rolling back rent increases in 2015, 2016 would best serve the rent-stabilized tenants of New York City, so many of whom struggle to meet yearly rent increases. Poverty in New York is rampant, and the homeless population, including thousands and thousands of children, is at an all-time high. We know the statistics: 60,000 homeless, 25,000 kids. Neighborhoods are gentrifying at an unprecedented rate. The Section 8 waitlist is still closed. These pressures on New York City tenants make this an especially crucial moment to maintain affordable rents for rent-stabilized families, allowing them to remain in their homes and communities. Sorry. I would like to emphasize that stabilized housing also provides stability for families, for long-time tenants, for seniors, the vast majority of whom are low income. Neighborhoods are also stabilized, and that stabilized tenants have the right to renew their leases every year or every 2 years if they can afford to stay. Unlike market housing, where tenants have little to no protection from being evicted upon the expiration. Okay. So, very, very quickly, we represent tenants all over the city, but specifically in Queens is where our largest practice is, and the stabilized stock in Queens is almost non-existent. So what we see there is what we don't want to have happen in the other boroughs, that people are constantly displaced, kids have to go from school to school every year. There's no stabilized stock, so rents are, at the discretion of the landlords, and we just see people constantly moving from home to home, neighborhood to neighborhood, and there's absolutely no stability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Daniel, and then Ms. Zhang, Aaron Martios, and Felix Tenerino. And sir, if you can please tell me how to pronounce your name, I very much apologize.
Thank you for finally calling me. My name is Daniel Andrejchuk. I'm the manager for the property in Manhattan. And
sir, if you could talk into the microphone so people can hear you, thank you.
Please don't be blindfolded. The politicians, they do dirty game, dirty laundry. They pushing tenants against landlords, landlords against tenants, but they have different goal. They try to destroy affordable housing, so big shark from real estate, they can build luxury building. Look what's going on right now in the Greenpoint, Williamsburg. 30, 40 stories building, and there's no rentals. The unit costs million, 2, 3 millions. That's what they're doing. They try to destroy affordable housing. Please give us good increase. I'm asking, not a ridiculous thing, but I believe we should get 3% increase for 1 year, 6% for 2 years. There should be a supplement, $45 for every apartment below $1,000 for 1 year increase, and should be $90 for 2-year increase, each apartment below $1,000. The building that I manage, there's most of them below $1,000. 3 bedrooms cost $570. 2 bedrooms, $550. That's ridiculous. It's just about the times to increase fair rent and help landlords to maintain. Buildings that I'm maintaining as a manager, they built in 1926, so they're not new. Constantly something breaking. Plumbing is very expensive. We're constantly replacing risers, pipes, whatever necessary. It costs more and more money, and we don't have this money. Nobody's gonna giving us. Just take a look. The taxes came back, raised 4.2%. Maintenance, utilities about 1.2%. Labor cost 3.8%. Administration cost 3.9%. Insurance,
Sir?
7.2%.
If you could wrap up your...
And maintenance, 3%. So I'm asking for fair increase. Thank you for giving me this time and ability to say.
Thank you for your testimony. Ms. Zhang? Ms. Zhang? Felix Tenorio? Then Jimmy Silver, Julian Fernandez, Felix Tenorio. Felix Tenorio.
¿Señor Félix se encuentra? ¿No? ¿Se necesita intérprete?
Julian Fernandez. Julian Fernandez. Oh, okay. Francisco Guzman.
Muchas gracias por darme esta oportunidad de comunicarme con ustedes. Me pregunto yo, ¿cuánto dinero más nos quieren sacar los caseros a nosotros?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I want to ask really, how much more money are these landlords trying to get out of us?
Ellos solo quieren que el dinero les entre a sus bolsillos, pero no quieren gastar en arreglar los edificios ni los apartamentos.
They just want to line their pockets with money, but they don't want to spend the money to make improvements in the buildings.
Cada año quieren subir y subir la renta, pero no arreglan nada.
Every year they want to increase the rent more and more, but they don't want to fix anything.
Cuando ellos gastan en arreglar la boila, las ventanas, elevador, ellos no lo pagan, lo pagamos nosotros con el MCI.
Every year when they spend money fixing the boiler, the windows, the elevator, they don't spend their money, they spend the MCI money. We pay for that.
Lo que ellos quieren, la meta de ellos es sacarnos a todos nosotros que pagamos una renta que está bien estabilizada para poder rentarle a gente y cobrarle 3 veces más.
Their goal is to get all of us out, all the people that have rent-stabilized apartments, so that they can rent them to people who they could charge 3 times more.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Jimmy Silver, if you could stay nearby in case anyone would like to speak who needs a translator, that would be wonderful.
Hi, I'm...
Hold on one minute.
One second, Jimmy. Hold on one second.
Si hay alguien más que va a necesitar intérprete, por favor sepa que yo voy a estar aquí cuando llaman su nombre, yo me voy a parar con usted para interpretarle.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Silber.
I'm sorry, Jimmy, 1 second. If anyone else would like to register, please, to speak, this would be the time. Okay, thanks so much. Jimmy?
Hi, I'm Jimmy Silber. I represent SPONY, the Small Property Owners of New York. Let's remember that 50%, over 50% of the rent-stabilized tenants in this city live in small buildings. These are buildings that our owners run, okay? Our owners are the backbone of housing in this city. Our owners, many of them live in their own buildings. They share the common roof with their tenants. These are the best maintained buildings in New York City. And these small buildings provide the most affordable housing.
Can we listen to his testimony, please?
These small buildings provide the most affordable housing in this city. And you would think last year with this board passing a 1% increase and probably passing 0% increase this year, you would think that there would be a freeze on real estate taxes and water and sewer taxes, or there would be an easing on the increase of real estate taxes. But there wasn't. In January, we saw an increase in citywide assessments for real estate taxes of 12.9%, the highest in years. Isn't that shameful? What kind of a public housing policy is that? The mayor tells small property owners they get no increase, but then they have to pay more in real estate taxes? This is a slap in the face of the people that provide the best housing in this city. So you look at, okay, how are owners gonna make these repairs with these small increases? Well, the first thing they have to pay is real estate taxes and water and sewer taxes. That accounts for almost 40% of a building's income. That has to be paid. And then what happens with the rest? How do they spend the 1% increase that they've been given this last year? Well, they do it by prioritizing their repairs, and they do it by deferred maintenance. That is a reality. As Steve said at the final hearing last year, this system needs money coming into it, or it's going to fail. And with no money coming into it, owners cannot make all the repairs they want. They'll do the necessary repairs. They'll fix the tenant's toilet in his apartment, but you know what? They'll put off painting their lobby and their hallways for a year or two. They'll put off fixing the sidewalk for a year or two. That's what your policy is saying here. You're saying 0 increases, and that translates into deferred maintenance. That is not good for New York City.
Thank you for your testimony,
That is
Mr.
not
Silver.
good for housing. It's not good for owners, and it's not good for tenants.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President.
just have a-
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a question? 1 second. Questions. Sorry.
Could you just elaborate a little bit on, as a small owner, representing small owners, the amount of job generation your projects generate in the city through sidewalk repairs and painting and et cetera?
Well, of course, you know, owners are going to employ tradesmen in the area if they're doing any kind of work in their building. It's a trickle down. It's a recirculating. It's an economy. If you're choking the small owner by saying they get no increases, then the small owner is going to have no money to pay the porters to clean his building, the sidewalk repairmen, the plumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Silver.